I'd like to welcome everybody to the SkySwitch University webinar series. Good morning, I'm Jason Jones at SkySwitch, and on behalf of the entire SkySwitch team, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to join us to learn more about overcoming the cold calling barrier with PhD Gunter Wessels of LiquidSMARTS. Those of you who attended our Vectors can remember Gunter's riveting keynote address and breakout session and the introduction to their engagement platform to enhance your sales of SkySwitch services. I will be moderating today's webinar, and Gunter will present his slide deck in its entirety, and we will conduct the Q&A session immediately thereafter. So I encourage all participants out there on the call today to type any and all your questions in the question widget section of your GoToMeeting control panel. And as always, we are recording today's webinar, which we posted on the SkySwitch YouTube channel and also sent to all participants via email immediately after the webinar. Now we're just going to settle in and get prepared to get educated by one of the best in the business, Mr. Gunter Wessels. The floor is all yours, Gunter.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Jason, for a great introduction. We are super excited to be here and to share this with you. Using the telephone to sell telephone systems is actually a good idea, but using the telephone to sell in general is something that we've got a ton of experience with. And so what we've done for you today is cut aside all the other stuff and focused on the just so. You're going to see a lot of do's and don'ts. You're going to see a formulaic process to doing this, and we're going to focus on the essentials of script writing that will help you develop those skills that you need to effectively sell over the phone. But we're talking about cold calling. I can't see you, you can see me, but you know as well as I do that cold calling is not on the top of your list of fun things to do today. Cold calling is about stepping into the icy water of rejection and interrupting people and annoying people. At least that's what it feels like sometimes. I want you to begin to start changing your perception of that activity as opportunity finding and essential. People on my team, including myself, have to do this on a weekly basis. We set aside some time to do it, but we do it in a smart way. And if you take one thing away from this webinar today, it's this. If you're still cold calling after starting up and getting going around 90 to 120 days, you're doing it wrong. The essential part of navigating opportunities in your marketplace is to use your progress to speed yourself up. When you touch people over the telephone and you do a good job for them, they will help recommend you. They will help you find new opportunities. Those are still cold calls because the people you're talking to that you're referred to are not known to you. And they don't necessarily know you, but it's a completely different environment than the pop-up interruption. That stuff's for robocalls, right? And at the very least, when you're touching people personally, that means something. It means you're actually earnest and you've done stuff. And we'll talk about what you can do to actually increase your impact there as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about revisiting the craft of selling and thinking about how that works. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on preparation and targeting. And then I've built into this slide deck some workshop elements that you can deal with on your own, and we'll make you an offer at the end of this as well. All right, everybody remembers this classic movie, or at least some of us do. There's some millennials on here that probably have not seen this film because Vin Diesel now is over 50 and he's still in his late 20s when this thing was shot with Giovanni Ribisi, called Boiler Room. And it was a classic view into the telesales environment and this kind of macho, slick hustler type of view of how people sell stocks and that sort of stuff. More recently, it was The Wolf of Wall Street. And again, everybody on the phone. But telesales is serious, and it is a big part of even an outside selling organization. If you go out and see customers, and I encourage you to do that, if you go out and see customers, you still need to use the phone to get the appointment. You still need to use the phone to follow up. You're going to do things over multimedia, but when you're actually using the phone, there's an art to it, and we sometimes leave that for granted. And we, as far as how selling and persuasion works, selling and persuasion is both verbal and nonverbal. So verbal you can do over the phone. And you actually have the opportunity in your verbal communications to convey emotions. You can give people reasons to do things and some justification when you talk to them. Now, remember, they need to talk to make sure that they're listening. And so there's an art to balancing the conversation instead of talking over them. But there's also the ability over the phone and in person, but over the phone especially, to provide nonverbal cues. That's your confidence, your presence, and your ability to convey sympathy. Now, how you speak, and we have some video lessons on this, how you speak tells us what your intentions are. What you say tell us what you're thinking, but how you say it gives us an idea of your intentions. And beneficial intent, the desire to help serve and solve a problem, and sympathy for the customer situation is a nonverbal cue that comes out in the words, but they're not tied to the words. It's how you say it. So there's some practice to this. There's some tonality. There are aspects of the way you use words that are benefiting from scripting. And we're going to spend a lot of time on just exactly how to use that effectively today. So when you're thinking about the verbal components, the emotions are going to give you the impact you're looking for. I need to get the customer emotionally involved in the discussion. And so I'm going to be searching for emotions. And when you're scripting, you're planning which emotions you're going to try and invoke. The reasons are going to be follow-ons in scripts and branching thinking you're going to do about how you're going to unfold the discussion, because you have the opportunity to do that in advance because you called them. They didn't call you necessarily if you're cold calling, right? I haven't thought of too many cold calling environments where people have called me. It would be more like a customer service call or just a regular sales call. Hey, you got some stuff? It's like, sure do, right? The script you're going to use to make sure that you create the follow-on to the impact statement is where you're going to unfold the reasons. And the biggest reason you need to give them is the reason to keep talking to you. And from there, they can begin to consider the solution you're having on offer. And you're going to work very much on justification and the supports you use, the way you give them the internal arguments that say, here's why and here's how this all works. Now, I mentioned nonverbal. I'm going to hit this again. Confidence comes from tempo. You might want to write that down. Now, it's in the slide deck. You're going to get that. But confidence comes from tempo. You ever talk to somebody who sounds like they're a squirrel on crack? You know, they just don't take a breath for like 3 sentences. Does that make you feel comfortable? Does that make you feel engaged? Or does that make you sit there and wonder what the heck is going on? Tempo has a ton to do with the customer's ability to believe you. And it also is how you convey confidence and assurance in what you're talking about. Somebody with authority and credibility speaks in a measured way at a specific tempo. And you know this intuitively, but you need to plan it. If you don't plan it, your nerves, the amount of coffee or Red Bull you drank, or the other stuff going on can get directly in your way. The way you signal presence too, and how you support your credibility, not just with the tempo, is with the questions you're going to ask. Smart questions, informed questions, questions that get that customer to think about their situation in a different way are exactly what we need if we're trying to break through the clutter of an otherwise chaotic day and someone bothered to pick up the phone to talk to us. We need some smart questions, and a lot of planning goes into that part. You're going to see as we continue to unfold here, scripting and planning is the essential skill that's going to improve your cold calling performance. And then, of course, sympathy is in how you respond. Once again, if you're talking to somebody, for me, it was a family member. It was my dear dad. We would have a discussion, and I would be sharing with him this enthusiastic, here's what my day, he asked, how was your day? And I would actually be tricked into saying, here's what happened. And he'd go, and then immediately say what he wanted to say. I wasn't heard. Please, when you ask a question to a customer, especially over the phone, be honest about it. Be sincere about it. Let them answer. Don't answer it for them, or don't just sit there and your way until your next point. It's a conversation. Nobody likes to be sold over the phone by a slick aluminum siding salesman that is sitting there trying to get them to do something they don't need to do. And the quickest way to be confused with that guy is not to listen. Remember your responses and plan your responses to increase your impact. Now, for those of you who are new to us, we have a royalty-free sales methodology that you can adapt to your own internal processes, CRMs, and other things. But it really is built on the same psychology of all sales processes. And that is, during a sale, you're dealing with discovery, progression, and closing. That's it. A sale is made up of those three parts. In discovery, you want to find out what the pain points are, who the players are, and what the buying criteria are, so you can talk intelligently about your solution in the context of the customer situation. Nobody cares about your solution until they know you care about them, right? And until they think you understand their situation, really caring is irrelevant. Oh, I care about you as an individual. Yeah, do you care that I'm suffering under my, the crushing load of productivity that I'm losing because my telephone system is just bugging out, or it's going down, or it is just not doing the things that I could be doing. During the next stage, when they know you care, you can progress it. You can talk about, where do you want to do this? How do I integrate this? How many? What kind of workflow are you going to do in the system? And then, of course, proof points. How do I know it works? Where else have you done this? Once you've done all that, you're ready to close. You can say, when do you want to go live? Let's contract for this. And then, and I remember this, you do this over the phone better than anywhere else, sell them something else. Nobody, if you're calling them, selling them something, is confused about the fact that you are a salesperson. Own it. It's beautiful. It looks good on you. Looks good on me. Everybody's okay if they understand their roles. And your role as a salesperson is to help that customer buy stuff, right? It's not a surprise. Now, they need to buy the stuff that's right for them. They need to trust that your recommendations are earnest and good. And you do that by understanding their pain points and their buying criteria. But when you're done selling them something, don't just go, yes, and run away. Sell them something until they say no. Don't forget that relationship is now something that value. And as I said before, cold calling is the introduction process. Once you got that relationship, it's a good idea to use it. It's a good idea to use it. Sell them something else. Every time they see you, I want you to be thinking about what you're going to sell them. Every time they talk to you, I want you to think about, what are you going to be selling them today? They're expecting it. It's normal. It's okay. And I give you permission to sell something every time you're there. So the essential ingredient, and the second big thing that we've covered so far and we're going to emphasize, is preparation. Preparation is the essential element of success over the telephone in telesales. Preparation involves script writing. Now, here are the elements, and we're going to go over them individually. There's an opening. There are discovery objectives, additional information you want. You're going to close it, and then you're going to follow up. Don't forget to follow up. Even if somebody told you, nah, not right now, always follow up. One of the itchy parts about calling people you don't know in a cold calling environment is that you don't know them, right? So who wants to stand there on the corner and interrupt strangers, right? Or worse, call them on the phone when they've got some other stuff to do. Following up is how you build you kind of level the land and create more fertile ground for you to sell into later. Be human. Be yourself. You're a good person. You should be. If you're not, get out of my industry, okay? But if you're a normal, good person, following up with people who said no to you is entirely okay. Not everybody's in the buying cycle when we touch them. So making sure that you keep a good list and follow up is essential to your long-term success. So preparation, and part of that is planning your follow-up. So here we go. Script writing. Let's do do's and don'ts. Rather than give you a whole lot of canned stuff, I'm going to cut to the chase and just the essential part. And here's the biggest impact when you're doing a script writing. When you are talking to somebody over the phone and you're trying to sell them something, remember to ask them and say please. Please is amazingly powerful. Please has been shown in research and in practice and observed best practices as being an underutilized term. We tend to make demands of customers when we talk to them. Tell me about your situation. When I'm catching you in the middle of something, you bother to talk to me. Hey, I need a little bit of help. Can you please fill in the blank? Now, notice a couple things. I'm saying I need something from you, right? But I don't need information. I don't need an answer to a series of questions. I need a little help. Have you ever found that when you ask somebody for help, especially here in America, you tend to get it? We're a very generous society. We care about other people, and when we're asked for help, we tend to do it. It's actually kind of part of our culture. Now, culture situations vary, and it's not universal, but in the research, when we talk about influence attempts, there are some prime kind of principles of influence and getting people to comply with the request, and one of them is to just ask for help. People have a desire to be helpful. It makes them feel useful, productive, and good. So if you ask someone for help, you're changing the footing. Instead of saying, I'm here to sell you something, I need a little bit of help. And when you say it with a please, it's earnest and it's sincere. You do need a little bit of help. You need a little bit of help in understanding their situation. You need a little bit of help in helping them guide you through what could cause them to want to purchase your solution. It is completely honest, but you need a little bit of help first. Not, I just need a few minutes. Sorry to interrupt. I need a little bit of help. Can you please? I've hammered that hard enough, but this is the most powerful part. It's the opening. I need a little bit of help. Can you please? So once you're there, you want to be a little bit more persistent, okay? So you're going to encounter some resistance, and here's another acronym for you, AARA, AARA, or ARA. When somebody gives you an objection, I don't have the time for this, I can't talk to people, I don't buy anything over the phone, the first thing you do is you acknowledge it. And you've heard telemarketers do this to you too, and the reason they do it is because it works. I understand how you feel, I understand what you're saying, I understand that you don't typically buy things over the phone. Based on the affirmation, that is based on where and who or what you are or are doing, that does tend to make sense because people don't typically understand the full parameters of a solution like this when they're just talking on the phone. Now I get to redirect, that's the R. What I need is, once more, a little help, and it won't take more than a few minutes. Appeal, please, would you do me a favor and help me? Please. Say it again, please. I'm not begging, but I'm being exceptionally polite. I don't buy anything over the phone, I understand. Based on where you are and who you are, that makes a lot of sense. But what I need is a little help here, and it won't take more than a few minutes. Please, would you do me a favor and help me? Please. That's hard to say no to. Keeps you in the game. Please is a big, important role. So once they've said, all right, fine, get to the point and be businesslike. I need you to spend a lot of time on 2 short sentences. The value proposition you have, and I want you to give me a 1-step value proposition, okay? Here's mine. Hire LiquidSMARTS, sell more. Hire LiquidSMARTS, sell more. 1 step, okay? What's your 1-step value proposition? What's the hammer you just pound that nail in with? Get me this. Now, this is a little bit marketing, okay? But in sales, we just need a little touch of it, and that is, what am I going to say to the customer that's going to have an impact that is of value to them? Now, if I'm selling a specific product, that's fine, but I want you to think a little bit more broadly because you have a portfolio of products typically that customers could buy various forms of, and as a result, if I just sell them one thing, at least I'm focused. But I'm a little bit biased, and I haven't let the customer respond by telling me what their situation's like. In other words, I've stereotyped them and said, you are either a customer for this or not, and I want to sift yes, no, and that's it. Sometimes you need to do that. But my recommendation is when you're talking to potential customers, treat them like people, treat them like your friends, and talk to them. Ask questions sincerely. Listen to the responses, and be ready to tell them. So what's all this about? I'm with LiquidSMARTS. Our clients hire us because they need to sell more. You're with XYZ. People hire us because they need to what? All right. So the example is blunt. We work with organizations like yours to drive employee productivity and better customer service. One step, better productivity and service. That's what we do. Sharp. I don't want you to get away from focusing on one sentence, but give yourself the room to make two and make them two short sentences because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And it also doesn't seem forced or too short. And that's the final point here. On the opening, you want to create a bit of mystery, but you don't want to create a puzzle. I want them to be interested in how the story ends. I don't want them to be confused or begin to go, I just know I can understand what the heck you just said. Well, we do the Jagenhauser interface with the Dulada, and don't use jargon. Don't use technical language. Don't use the sort of stuff that you're used to talking about when you're talking to the people who know what you're talking about. Don't use the language you use when you're talking to the people you're used to talking to about the stuff you're used to talking about. Talk to them in English. English is the preferred sales language, and English doesn't contain a whole lot of jargon, especially when you're talking to somebody you don't know. So, ask for help at the beginning, so write your opening. Be persistent, acknowledge, continue to affirm, redirect, and appeal, and then get to the point and be businesslike. Now, in your slide deck, you have the opportunity to then write 2 short sentences as an exercise to follow this on, and I challenge you to do that. Well, you're sitting here listening to a webinar, so thanks for that, but get some more mileage out of this. Jot this one down. Now, because this is not a web classroom, it is a webinar, I'm going to continue on and let you park that exercise and move forward. How about some don'ts? Do not give the customer a reason to hang up on you, and you know and I know we've done this a lot. Hi, blank. This is Gunter with LiquidSMARTS. Is this a bad time? I'm late for my sewing circle. So yes, it's a bad time. It doesn't matter what's going on. If you give them that kind of opening, you are begging for a lower contact rate. Now, it is polite, right? I do say this when I talk to Jason. I go, hey, Jason, how you doing? Is this a bad time? Because Jason and I have a relationship. But if I'm talking to somebody I don't know, is this a bad time? What time is it? Yeah, it is a bad time. It's a bad time. Bye. Don't give them a reason to hang up on you. You just dialed. You did all the planning. You did all this stuff. Don't throw it away. You know you've done it. I've done it. Stop it. Stop it right now. Don't sound like a telemarketer or a pest. Hi. Okay, use your real voice, first of all. Your tonality, your speech. Be cheerful. Sometimes get a wireless headset like this, stand up, right? Because you're not on a webcam. You can walk around and gesture, smile, make all these sorts of things, and then say, but just don't say, hi, I'm Gunter with LiquidSMARTS. I'm gathering information for a survey, and I'd like to schedule some time with you to answer some questions. Now, the key term here is, I want to schedule some time. We've been caught, and you've been caught too, and this is not a bad alternative, and maybe this is for somebody who is not skilled in selling to get appointments for you, but when you're cold calling, don't call me to get me on the phone to make an appointment. Sure, if you can't talk to me, then get an appointment. At least you answered the phone. But the point of the call is to go forward. So don't sit there and just, I don't know, I don't have anything else to do, and I'm not really prepared for this call. I'd like to set an appointment with you. Hear me clearly. You have the opportunity to use people to get appointments for you. But when you're calling, make sure you're prepared to do the selling. I hope that's a fair statement. Telemarketers or that sort of stuff, they're used to answering research questions and all this stuff. It's not going to get you where you need to go. Make sure that you're on point and you have your objective ready. Let's go to discovery questions. Again, 2 measures of planning will give you 10 measures of results. The biggest return on investment you can have for effort input in a sales situation is firm planning. The biggest return on investment for effort input you can get in selling is from planning. So make sure you've got your discovery objectives thing. Now, to get discovery and get people to answer questions about their situation to you, you need to be credible. I do that by being a doctor. When I ask people questions, it's assumed, and rightfully so, that I'm informed on the subject area of which I'm asking, and I've got some expertise which I can deploy in the conversation to help solve a problem. I'm very well educated, I'm very well experienced, and my credential signals that. My title as practice general manager also signals that. You may or may not have these things at your disposal. If you do, use them. If you don't worry. Because even those of us with credentials have the opportunity to make or break our credibility by the questions we ask. If you're asking a smart and informed question about what's going on at that organization, not something lazy, something smart, they're going to answer and they're going to be engaged. It's by the quality of our questions we support our credibility and we give our clients a reason to engage with us because they have a hint that we have expertise that we can share with them and help them solve a real problem. You know that your customers didn't lose a bet to run a business. I mean, most of them didn't, right? I mean, some of these family generation things have a bit of a challenge, but they're smart people. They're smart people. They have very capable brains that they use to solve problems on a daily basis. So coming at them with a lazy question or assuming that a simple solution that, just buy my box and your solution, your world is better is just not credible. They're smart. Treat them like they're smart and ask them a smart question. Do a little research. See, one of the benefits of calling someone versus having them call you is you get to determine the timeline, which also gives you the opportunity to prepare. And part of preparation is not just scripting and that sort of stuff, but planning your questions by being very well informed about the environment they're in, their industry, and how your solution fits into that. So you can ask insightful questions that say, how are you solving this problem versus that problem? Now, we've got a lot of content on sharpening your questions and increasing your influence, especially increasing your credibility in the On-the-Go Smarts library. So I'm going to refer you to those for further learning, and at the end, you'll see how you can get that. And so that point, I'm not going to stray too much farther onto, but use some research to ask informed questions because informed questions will get more participation. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Second, during discovery questions, you are not wearing a stethoscope and that sort of stuff. Don't be like your doctor and go, does it hurt here? Does it hurt there? Be conversational. Be human. You have expertise to share with them. You are a credible member of the industry, and you got them on the phone, so don't make it painful. Be conversational. And that means when you're scripting, you're going to write an outline. You've got the points you want to cover, but you're not sitting there reading. I mean, only news anchors have gotten it down after years and years of practice to read a teleprompter and then sound like they're actually talking. Don't try and do that. Don't write a script or borrow someone else's script. Make it your own. Be genuine. Your credibility lives and dies based on your authenticity. Are you really the real deal? Now, you might not have a ton of experience. You might not be, the most tenured person in your industry. You might not have all the facts and all the knowledge you need. Own it. Be real. Be yourself, because you still have value to offer your clients. Value in your understanding, value in your understanding of the customer, the company, the products, and so forth. Value they can't easily get. Just own who you are and where you are. Don't try and punch too far above your weight class. But know you can stand your own in virtually any area. After all, once you got them on the phone, they answered the call. So they're ready to talk. So use that and be conversational. Be crisp, be clean, be focused, but be human. Write your outline and then convey your outline in those conversational tones. Once again, I mentioned earlier, tone and tempo have a lot to do with someone's ease and comfort in believing that you have something of value for them. When you're also doing discovery questions and you're rolling along, provide some feedback. When somebody's rattling off an answer, you're making notes. It's normal to say this stuff, and it actually is pleasing to hear. That's interesting. And give them some progress. If they're busy sounding like they're giving you one-word monosyllabic answers, yep, nope, just a few more questions. Bear with me, please. Just a few more. Give them a marker in here that lets them know that you're not going to keep them on there as long as you otherwise could. I don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. I don't want to just continue to talk or be examined by someone that I'm just meeting. So be polite, be conversational, be yourself. Do not give them another reason to hang up on you. And here's one of those. What are you doing here? What are you doing there? What are you doing here? What questions sound like an interrogation sometimes? What? That doesn't mean you can't say what. But you need to measure these open-ended questions and ask some how questions. Again, we have some content on the best practices and questions that I'd recommend you take a look at, because how you phrase a question has a lot to do with its impact and its effectiveness. Don't just sit there and dig for, as if you're All right, it appears that we lost battery. So let's just go ahead and use our backup system. Sorry, guys. Okay, don't say something like, huh? Huh? Huh is a really smart question. And it actually counts as a question. It's a really smart question. And don't sound flat, annoyed, bored, or disinterested. It conveys a very bad signal about you as a potential salesperson and potential partner. I don't really care about what's going on here, so I'm just not gonna, huh, okay, yeah, uh-huh, yep. It's not good enough, guys. So, discovery questions. Again, I'm gonna give you an assignment to follow up on. You wanna have 3 discovery questions at least that you can develop. And when you're talking to your customer, it's not a bad idea to say to them, hey, here are 3 areas we're going to cover. These are 3 things that we're going to do. And here's why it matters to you, and here's what you can do. So giving them a little bit of a, yeah, this is a better microphone too. Giving them a bit of a coordinate plane and telling them what to expect. These are 3 things we're going to cover. Really has an impact, and again, gives people comfort with the fact that they're talking to you. Okay, we've discovered what's going on after we've made an impactful opening. Now let's look at what other information we want. And this is a best practice in the telemarketing world that applies directly to cold calling, because if somebody is talking to you and they still seem to have some time, you've gotten the information you've gotten, don't spike the football and leave. Go for some other stuff. Go for more. They've already invested the time. Help them invest a little bit more, and that'll work out just fine. So when you're getting additional information, refer to a previous response. So you mentioned connectivity problems. Can you dig into that a little bit more? I'm telling you I've heard you, and I'm telling you I'm interested, and now I want you to report some more so that I can get some deeper information. Guys, this is essential in qualifying the sale. This is essential in helping the customer understand that they're going to get some potential value, because they're busy talking to you about their pain points and their problems. That means they have a belief that they actually have a problem, because when a customer's talking about themselves, they're listening. And when they're listening, they know that they're discussing things that are problem related. They know that they actually have a problem. I can surface this problem for them by doing that. And searching for additional information is a primary to do that. Not just collecting, but surfacing more. So again, be focused. Take notes when you're talking to a customer. It's respectful, and you refer to key words. Sometimes you'll hear someone say something that's a little bit off. It's a perfect time to ask for additional information. And when you're asking for additional information, I want you to convey a learner's attitude. So that's interesting. I'd really like to
Tell me a little bit more about that. I haven't heard that before. I haven't seen that. I've seen a lot, but tell me what you mean and tell me why that matters. Now, when I say something like tell me what you mean and tell me what that matters, tone makes a huge difference, right? Tell me what you mean and why does that matter versus tell me what you mean. Why does that matter? I'm very interested. Also provide feedback to the customer on and note some progress. So that's interesting. I haven't heard that before, as I said a few minutes ago. And okay, well, we're almost done. So again, very much appreciate we're almost done. I just need a few more things. Please help me understand this, this, and this. And remember, please, 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 the first best practice, still the best. Do not stop just because you've got your basic information, right? Okay, that's all I need. Thanks so much. Click. Don't be closed off to the customer's ability to talk to you. I mean, they might have, during the discussion, developed a better understanding of their situation, and now they're feeling some pain that they haven't felt before. You're in the zone, ready to sell, and you're like, okay, got it, thanks. We're not budgeted right now. Tell me about how you budget. That's additional information. Tell me about when you buy off budget. That's additional information. Yeah, are you budgeted? No. Tell me about how that unfolds otherwise. So again, I've got an assignment for you. Go ahead and take a few minutes after the call here, to write 3 additional questions behind your discovery questions so that you have the opportunity to practice. All right, we're making progress, guys. Let's go to closing. When you're closing, I want you to remember to express your gratitude for their time and attention. Even when you've sold something over the phone, tell them thank you for your time and attention. Thank you very much for your insights. Thank you very much for your investment. Thank you very much for believing in us. Nobody dislikes being thanked for making an investment in a relationship. It just conveys, again, that humanity that you're looking for. Do you care about me? If you care about me, you'll say please, you'll say thank you, you'll say sorry if you made a mistake, and you'll say that's wonderful when it really is. So do reiterate the value of the call. We've learned a lot about your situation. These insights help us develop a better solution for you, and here's how. Give them the benefit of your insight. Give them the benefit of your knowledge. Give them the benefit of your experience and perspective. At the very least, and this is even when people have decided that they're not going to buy from you now and it's pretty clear that they can't, make sure you leave that, here's what we learned, here's what we saw, and here's what we understand. And this helps us develop a better solution for you. Right now, you don't have something where you don't have the infrastructure. Right now, you're not ready. But here's how that changes over time, and here's what to expect. I'm giving a reciprocal investment back to the customer when I'm closing this down, because what I'm closing for above everything else is the relationship. I've just met you. I need you to become one of my connections, part of my circle. Remember, I don't want to be cold calling a list of people I've never heard of for the rest of my life. So if I can bring you into a connection, a group of people that I'm connected to, friend you on LinkedIn, for example, I have the opportunity to use that weak tie and ask you for additional help or check in with you or a whole bunch of other things. That means I've got a resource out there, and I am a resource in the marketplace. Okay, so when you're closing, provide feedback. Today I learned blah, 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 and that was a meaningful insight, and here's what we're going to do, etc. Do open the door for more, right? Is there anything in this area you think we missed or would like to add? I'm surprised in so many calls that we see that people don't say, did I miss anything? Now, whether you're in person or you're over the phone, did I miss anything should be asked more often than it is. We miss stuff. And sometimes the customer has been waiting patiently, politely, to step into a very small space in our long run-on sentences to say, well, I think that, blah. They just haven't had the opportunity. Making sure that I stop and as part of my process, give them the opportunity to engage is incredibly important. When you're closing, do not stop because you have basic information. Oh, great. That's all I need. Do not be closed off to the customer's ability to provide you with greater insight, changes, and situation. And this is even if they are not ready to buy. This process is going to fit whether they're ready to buy or not. I need you to remain open to get insights, because if I'm there to learn about your business, if I'm there to learn about you, and if I'm there to figure out how I can help you, I'm not making you feel like I can't wait to get off the phone and record this sale. This is not a pump and dump stock sale, right? And that's the thing we're trying to avoid. So let them provide you with greater insights. Let them share with you. Let them run. If they want to start talking, let them run. Here's the biggest part. Everybody listen. When you are closing your calls, do not forget to collect their email address, because it's much easier to schedule an email address and deliver an email than it is to reach them on the phone. Get their cell phone number so you can text them if they'll be open to that. And don't forget to ask for their agreement to participate in future conversations. Keep the door open. Keep the ability to engage with them on point. This is essential for us to be building that base of future business, future opportunities, and so forth. And that's my little dog. So, follow up. I want you to remember to follow up as the final point here. Send a thank you email summarizing your conversation. Send a follow-up email again in 10 days, thanking them once more. One core way to help build that relationship once more is to follow up. You cared enough to answer my phone call. You cared enough to talk to me. I cared enough to follow up saying, here's what we did, and send them a thank you again in 10 days. This is so infrequent that it stands out like a sore thumb. And again, we're talking about the power and peril of cold calling, and this is emailing. It's going to help. We live in a multimodal, multimedia environment. Make sure that you're using every tool at your disposal to maximize the productivity of that time you're done in over the phone. All right. So how do I do this? I want you to plan for a 5 to 15 minute call. So script and design for that amount of time. When you're busy doing this, I want you to think about doing 3 calls per hour. And I want you to take time for documentation in between it. Do this in a measured format as if it is an important staged process. Summaries, reports, follow-up emails, all of those things are part of the cold calling process and essential, again, for you to make sure that you are improving your effectiveness and impact every time you do it. Okay. So what I want you to think about getting when you're calling in discovery is organizational priorities. Where do they stand in competitive pressure? These are interesting questions, especially if you know that it's a competitive industry. I want you to understand what the overall business size is so that you can right-size the solution. Not what are you working on, are you budgeted for this? Tell me about your business. It looks like you have so many employees. How many employees? Okay, so you're probably, $3 or $4 million in revenue. Yeah, okay. Do you have any multiple locations? Do you have any special conditions? Do you have any different modes of use? And then again, I want to find the opportunity to have some insight into client behavior.
Okay, he's back. I got
Some people saying I've lost their audio. Audio's off. Here we go. So you're talking about doing research and being smart. This is solid advice, but it seems like it's pretty generic scripting. Did I miss something? Chris, well, okay, so generic advice is not bad, and I appreciate that. This we discussed when we were at the Vectors conference as well. Once you understand how your client's business works, you've got something that's of value. So you have the opportunity to step into some specialization up and down on a vertical. So if I know how different organizations work in schools, for example, or municipalities, or in manufacturing, or in a variety of other areas, that gives me an advantage. And so I'd like to encourage you to make sure you understand what potentially happens in a vertical that you're touching frequently, law firms or et cetera, and then do some specific research around that. But at the very least, Google them, figure out what their webpage looks like, figure out how many locations they have. Okay, I lost audio. Audio's off. There we go.
I've got a question here for you too, Gunter. Can you hear me okay?
Questions? Sure can, Jason.
Okay, great. So I want to tag on to, the question that was before too. This is all about refinement too. You might have a process where you go into cold calling right now and you've been doing it, but this is to improve. And like you said, every industry is going to be a little different, and we should develop scripts around that industry to get better results. And this is what it's all about. It's about doing what we normally do every day, but doing it better and concentrating and focusing on how we can do it better. And I got another question here for you, and I was just thinking about it myself. When you apply these cold call principles for the first time, can you please let us all know what is the expected timeline for a sales rep to get proficient and see improvement when using these methodologies?
75. That's where you begin to hit your stride after you've done something 75 times. This is just a behavioral norm, and it sounds like a lot, but it's not that much. When we did this with Brian, I told him to go get his 10 no's, which is the second component. Go get 10 no's today, all right? Just go collect them. To have people tell you no 10 times, that means you at least know that you're talking to people. And if you put no's as a potential goal, then a lot of the pain that is associated with the rejection is actually beginning to, it gets ameliorated or gets reduced. So if you've done about 75 of these, you're getting your rhythm, right? And so, and I tell outside salespeople or other salespeople too, based on the frequency and activity of the task here, it's going to take you 60, 90 plus days to get get airspeed. And you got to work really, really hard at the beginning to get that all done. But it's not toxic. It's a job, right? And so if you think about it in terms of honing your craft and improving your skills, then practice. And after about 75, you're going to get to a point where you're, oh, I've seen that before. I've seen that before. I've seen that before. Oh yeah, I remember. And just keep going. Have a bit more of a less doom and gloom attitude about this. I mean, it's sales, right? It's not brain surgery. So if you get it wrong, nobody dies. Try it. Work on it. Practice it. Make it sharper. It's a skill. A lot of people spend time at the driving range trying to focus on their golf swing, right? But they will not practice how they talk to customers over the phone nearly as much. Do both, but at least do both, right? Not just one. Okay, I see this one. I love the start to finish and process and tips. We're going to our full-time sales reps, 7 years doing this myself, definitely following up the training with them, says Joel. Thanks, Joel. That was a great question, but we appreciate that, and let us know how we can help. Jason?
Yeah, I think this is just super insightful. I want to thank you, Gunter, for taking the time to be with us this morning. We know you're a busy guy. Let's talk about this job form a little bit too, and how they can get signed up. And I'd like for you to mention some of the other programs that you've developed for SkySwitch resellers specifically for them, so they can better their business, better their sales, better their revenue earning potential.
All right. Hey, so if you saw us at the Vectors conference, you might have heard us say something that you haven't heard a partner organization or a vendor organization say to you, which is, hey, we want to be friends. And we really do. We want to treat you like a partner and a friend. We do that with SkySwitch as well. And that means, we're okay with talking to you and helping you out as best we can, and then acquainting you with some resources. But when you talk to us, you're not immediately catching, a marketing script either, right? We're human, and we are here to sell training, and it's pretty good. It's just the sort of thing that you would need to use. And so helping you use it properly is one of the things that we spend a lot of time on. So this is a jot form. I don't think it's a hot link in your page, but it might be. We can put it in again, a follow-up communication. You've registered for this, so you're going to get some stuff as a registrant. But please go ahead and fill it out. Give us your email, your phone number, and what you're interested in discussing, and we'll talk to you. Now, you could be full and tired of listening to me, but that's okay. Brian's going to call you first, but it doesn't mean that I won't be available either. We've got Steve on the team. We've got a whole lot of other very tenured and experienced folks that can help out and are interested in doing that because we're part of your ecosystem. So the best contact to start here is Brian Woodyard, Director of Marketing Engagement. That's his direct cell phone number. So call him if you need bail. If you're in Tucson, don't do that. And give him an email at brian@liquidsmarts.com. We have curriculum on how to adapt your behavior, improve your communication, core selling skills, and then additional kind of higher level 2, level 3 kind of mastery selling skills, all in a library that you can consume based on an assessment that we provide you so that it is tailored to you. And you consume these lessons on like a weekly basis in 3 to 5 minutes. So we've taken 53 minutes so far, or close to that, 52 minutes. And this was a lot of stuff, right? We'll break these things into smaller little pieces and give you that particular skill on how to use tonality, for example. That's how this stuff gets turned into micro learning. So you can take the little pieces and parts and focus on the kind of core skills that are underneath them, and you'll be just fine. And again, we design it around you. We're working with SkySwitch to do product sales training also. So how do I position business SMS, and how do I position the camera solution? How do I position this stuff? What's the stuff I need to say? That, just like you saw here today, very prescriptive, is coming to you, and it's in that same library. And we're doing this with CVA and a few other things to make sure that the community has the benefit of everybody pulling around the same direction. And yes, Chris, we are sending this deck to registrants. We're going to provide all of these collaterals as well as some other stuff. And go ahead and fill out that job form, and we'll get right back to you, make it even easier.
Yeah, thank you, Gunter. Everybody, we always record these webinars, and then we send it out to all the participants. And then we also post it in the Dash Manager of your individual Dash Managers too. So not only will the participants have it, but every SkySwitch reseller will have it at their disposal too. Gunter, thank you very much. It's always insightful to have you present and give this information. Myself, who's been cold calling for 30 years, I just learned some things myself. So I appreciate that. I can apply some of these principles, and hopefully I can get better too. So everybody have a great day. Gunter, thank you again, and we'll see you next time on the SkySwitch webinar series. Bye-bye.